All right, guys, we've got a perfect square around the car now. Let's check the tire pressure, see where we're at with all of these. $43. 48. 17. Okay. Yeah, we're way off on that one. So that will mess with the measurements. 19. Okay, so we got some air leakage on this side. Let's get everything set. I'm gonna set everything around 38. All right, let's check and see if that messed up our angles here. I think it probably did. We are now at 59. We were 60 before. So I think it changed it just a hair. Adding pressure here. And we're at 60. 61, 62. So yeah, that did mess with it a little bit. So this side needs to go over just a hair. Let's see what that does. So we're at 60 now. Let's see what we're over here. That's right on 60. Just a hair. There we go. 60, 71. All right, let's go with that because we're gonna have to change it again once we put the body back on. I'm just trying to get close. So that's the center line. 71 in the back, 60 in the front. Okay, now let's measure the toe in and the toe out. Toe in measurement is the front of your wheel, and we are at 89. This side we are 90. All right, I'm gonna get these measurements, write them down, and I'll show you guys what we're working with here. And then we're gonna get the body back on and redo everything. Before I make any adjustments, I'm just gonna get the measurement on the front toe in and the rear toe out. Right now we're at 89. And on the rear, we're at 86. We'll do this other side. We're at 90 and 88. 90 and 88. 90 and 88. In the rear, we're at 85 and 85. We're not gonna do any adjustments on the rear. The rear should be very similar on both sides. 85 and 87. So there is something going on with the rear on this one. So we've got 85, 85, 85, and 87. All right, guys, let's see what we're working with. After we got the line square, the tires inflated properly, we got the line measured distance from all wheels. We had 60, 60, 71, 71. So in the front, you want the two front lines to match. This point to this point is where we had 60, from the line to the center of the hub. So we got those measured up to line up by moving that post in and out. Same thing with the rear of the car. Okay, that just gives us our square around the car. Now we can measure toe in and toe out. And we already had the alignment pretty close, but after we filled up the tires, it knocked it off a little bit. So you can see here, we're just 1 millimeter difference in the toe in. And that might be acceptable, I'm not sure. And in the toe out, we're 86 and 88, so we're 2 millimeters off there. Now, if you look in the book, it tells you that they want you to try to achieve 5 minutes of toe in, total toe in with pressure on wheels. Now we don't have pressure on the wheels right now. I'm assuming that is the body, the gas tank, and the spare tire that they're talking about. They mentioned that here earlier in the book. We don't have that right now. So But we do have the car on the ground, which means there should be some pressure because it's sitting on the ground. So this number right here isn't going to help us a whole lot right now because we still need to get the pressure from the weight of the car, the gas tank, and the spare tire. But it should give us a reference point. And 5 minutes is, there's a conversion chart. I'll see if I can bring that chart up here. That'll show you, it'll convert minutes to millimeters based on the size of the tire and wheel that you have. Tire, we have 15-inch wheels, and they're asking for 5 minutes. So there's a 4-minute line here, so let's go to that and we'll go over. So they're looking for 0.5 millimeters of toe in. That's what it converts to. So the difference between this and that should be 0.5 millimeter. We are 1 millimeter off in the front, and I think if you split that, that would be the 0.5, right? The difference that we have right now is 88 and 90. That's a +2 toe in, and this is a +3. We have +5 millimeters right now. So we need to get that closer to 1. So let's see if we can do that. Guys, I don't know if that's correct or not. I think that's correct. That's what we're gonna go with. We're gonna get it as close as we can. I'm gonna tighten everything down, but I'm not gonna lock it. I'm just gonna kind of snug it up. Then we're gonna get the body back on it, and then we're gonna do this whole thing all over again. Let's do it. Let's see if we can get these numbers a little closer to each other by adjusting the tie rods in and out on both sides. That's what I'm gonna do now. I'm not gonna tighten this down, I'm just gonna make it snug. And then once you get the final fitment, you tighten everything down, the wrench and everything, and you lock this lock tab, bend this tab over. Right now I'm just gonna make it snug so we try to keep a little bit of that measurement that we just made. And guys, if you've done this before, if you've got experience with this, if I'm way off or whatever, you got any, I just moved it. Shoot, it's all right. That's not a big deal. We're gonna have to make some pretty big adjustments once the weight's on. Just snugging them up. And this is actually loose. I loosened that up on the bottom because I read in the book that leave it loose until you put the steering bracket, the steering arm back on, and the steering arm or shaft should locate this shaft, and you should be in the proper alignment with the steering arm, steering shaft. Now, there's probably a more technical way to get this on properly. I know on the 67 Ghia, that steering box has little locators like this does right here. But for some reason, this steering box doesn't locate to these. I don't know why. This is a 65 Beetle, and this is a 67. And if you look, there's some locate bumps that are down on the bottom, and it locates this bracket. You see that bump right there? It locates into that bracket. So I don't know why this one doesn't have that. So there's no way to get this located. The bumps are there, but they're not in the actual steering box. For some reason, I don't know why they're on the I don't know why they're on the top. This should be on the bottom. That's kind of weird. I don't know. If you guys know, comment below. So in the book here, it shows this bracket right here. Okay, see the 14 and the 13 and the 14 and the 13. So there's supposed to be little arrows on there, but I don't see the arrows. But I guess you look at the arrows in the book. So this 13 says when bracket is on axle tube with arrow at 13 pointing forward, installations for the Beetle. And when it's at 14, it's for the Carmagia. So we want the arrow to point forward. So we're gonna put it on like that. But what's really weird is, see these notches right here? They have them on top. Doesn't make any sense. I think they may have messed this one up from the factory. I'm not sure. If you guys know, let me know. But I think those notches are supposed to be on the bottom, but there are none on the bottom. None at all. So see what I'm seeing? See what I'm saying here? Those notches fit perfectly in there, but this doesn't go on top. This goes on the bottom. So I don't know why those notches are there. If you go over to the Carmagia, there's no notches on top. The notches are on the bottom. There's two notches under there. There's one here and there's one there. And that holds that bracket. Notches are on the bottom. That makes sense. I'm not sure why the notches are on the top on this one. That may, that might be a factory defect. I don't know. If you guys know, comment below. But we're gonna put it on and we're gonna attach the steering shaft, and hopefully we can get close to where we need to be. But this seems like it would be an issue. These seem like they should be on the bottom, and there's nothing on the bottom. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about that. 13 this way. I'm pointing the 13 in the right direction, but those notches aren't on the bottom, so I don't think it matters. I would think that would be a pretty critical thing, that those notches are supposed to be on the bottom. I don't know. I'm going to keep this loose so that when we put the steering, we can adjust it. All right, guys, let's get these lines out of the way. All right, we're gonna get the body back on, then we're gonna redo the measures. We're gonna put the square back around it and measure everything again. We're gonna have to do that a couple times until the whole suspension kind of settles in with the weight of the car, the gas tank, and the spare tire, and anything else that we can put in there. But in the last video, we couldn't get the engine running. I figured out what's wrong. The starter's bad. So I swapped out the starter, and it started right up. The other issue was there was no fuel getting to this carburetor, and I figured out that there is a tiny little clip in there. If you look right here, if you look right there, there's a little tiny hole. There's supposed to be a clip in there, and this thing popped out like that. It popped out. So it wasn't pumping the pump. The pump wasn't pumping because that little thing popped out of there. So I'm gonna put it back in. So I put that back in there, and I was able to pump it with the, basically it's a little clip like this. It's actually smaller than this. So I gotta find one smaller than this that'll go in there. So we gotta get that done. I'm gonna pull the engine back off because I gotta get the tins on, and it's easier to get the body on with the engine off because the engine sits up pretty high. So let's pull the engine off, get the wheels off again, get them on the dollies, slide it over, get the car back in here, jack it up, and we'll set it back down. Let's do it. All right, guys, we got the Beetle up as high as I can get it with those stands. Once you take the wheels off, you get this as low as you can and get that as high as you can. This is working out. The only issue is with the engine on it, it's gonna bump into the stands as you go to put it in, which is an issue. If we had the bumper brackets on here that stick out, or something that could go in there that would come out here, then we could get it up high enough out here, and the same for the front. So if we could put the bumper brackets on the front and the rear, we could get more clearance for the chassis to just slide under there. You see, with the 6-ton all the way up and at the tail end there, holding up just underneath the bumper brackets, it clears with about 2 inches. You got to take the carburetors off if you have dual carburetors. But yeah, we've got 2 inches of clearance there. And yeah, so that's kind of cool. But the problem is when you go to push it back, you're going to run into those stands. So we got to be able to get those stands further out. So I'm going to work on getting a bracket for those, because I'm trying to figure out a way you can do this in your garage without a hoist and do it by yourself without people helping you get it off. So those are good. They get it up high enough as long as you take the wheels off and get it low on this type of dolly. So this is working pretty good. You could go up higher, like if you put those stands on top of some wood, or maybe even a tire, or if you got the 12-ton stands, they would go up higher. So this is working out, but it's not going to work out with those stands. I'm going to take the engine off. I need to take the engine off anyway because we need to put the tins back on it and do some other stuff. It's not a big deal. I'm going to take the engine off, then we can slide this in there like we did when we were taking the body off, and we'll be good to go. And we'll just put the engine in through the back, because once the chassis is in, then we can move the stands over here, and we'll have plenty of height to do the slide the engine in there. Too bad. All right, let's see what happens. Plenty of room. All right, check it out. It is, there's plenty of room now with those 6-ton stands. With the engine off, slides in and out, no problem. So you can take the body off the chassis and slide it out by yourself if you have the gumption to. let's go ahead and get the body down. All right, we've got the seal back in here. And we'll have to adjust that as we go, line up the holes. These spacers, one goes here, one goes here on both sides, through here. All right, let's see what happens. All right, let me see. Okay, as you're lowering this down slowly, you got your two mounting holes here. You can see the bolt that's it's gonna thread into here. You got spacers here too. Don't forget those. But as you're lowering it down, as long as you're somewhat in the ballpark as far as left and right goes, we need to go to the left just a little bit. And you can move the chassis, because it's on wheels, back and forth a few inches to get it to where you need it. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Let's lower it down. As you lower it, it kind of moves forward just a little bit. Pretty close. Oh yeah, we're like right on. Up. Almost. There we go. Looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. See if we can get the bolts in there. All right, we got some bushings and spacers. Get these lined up. And we'll just put them in loose for now. All right, for the rear, I used a piece of wood here and spanned it across the bumper bracket mounts here. It's pretty secure, and that way we can have an even drop. So I just raised it up a little bit with this, moved the jack stands out, and now we're going to lower it down. Let's do it. All right, it's looking good. Looking good. Just going down real slow. About 3 inches to go. And looking pretty good. Come this way just a hair. Kind of go back this way here. You just kind of, with the jack, it allows you to kind of swivel it back and forth to where you need it. if you've got a real sweet car that's perfect, with the paint's real perfect and everything's perfect, you just want to be super careful how you do this, if you do it. I'm obviously not worried about scratching this one, so we are good. We kind of need to go forward. I'm gonna see if I can get the bolts in there, get it lined up. That might help. No, they're not long enough. Almost. Let's go a hair further. There we go. We're in there now. Alright, so this is what you need. Punch or an awl, I forget what they call these. But this is great for getting down in the holes and lining them up. You kind of see here, you can see the hole there. That one's lined up pretty good. So you get in here and you can rock it back and forth. It really helps get it lined up. Let's see if that helped. Let's check the other side real quick. Yeah, we're lined up good now. We're lined up good there. Try it again. Yeah. We are on it now. Looking good. Guys, the body is back on the chassis. It'll probably come off again. It's just, it's a learning process. There's a lot of little things you have to do when you completely rebuild a chassis and the front beam and all that stuff. A lot of, you know, if you've done it before, then you know the next time you do it, you'll know the process better. This is my first time doing this, so. Body comes off, body goes on. Body comes off, body goes on. So we'll get there. Every time we do something, we learn something. So the body is bolted back to the chassis. We know how to do the alignment kind of now. So I'm gonna get the engine back in it. That's gonna put the weight in the back. We're gonna put some weight in the front, and we're gonna do the string alignment again. Get all that straightened out. Get the steering wheel straight. We'll have to strap it, one strap on each side, so it stays straight while you're adjusting the tie rods. All right, let's get the engine back in. All right, so I went ahead and put some block to get some more height out of here on the jack. before we move it to this jack. I just wanted to see if we could get it high enough to slide under there, and we did. Now, question is, can we mate up the engine with the transmission while it's on this stand? It would obviously be better if it was on here, but it's not on here right now. I've been seriously thinking about getting one of those motorcycle jacks because I think it'd be perfect for these. It slide under there and it gives you the adjustability. So I might go pick one of those up. But let's see if we can slowly drop this down and get it to meet up without using the jack. Let's try it. I don't know if this is gonna work, guys, but let's try it. Come down real slow. We got a ways to go. All right, I was propping this up a little bit to kind of give it an angle with a piece of wood. I got a little towel here to protect this, although I already scratched it earlier. This is all scratched. At some point, once we get all this stuff figured out, how to get it in and out real smooth, and we get all the details worked out, we're gonna put the engine seal in, we're gonna repaint the tin, we're gonna do all that stuff, and then get it in here, and hopefully leave it in there for a while. That'd be nice. But yeah, we're getting there. We're real close. Let's see if we can drop it a little bit more. Down a little faster than I thought I was going to. That was weird. We're close. This might work. Let's try it again. We're close. We're definitely going to need a wardrobe change after this one. Holy cow. Shoot. Come on, baby. Just slide in there for me. I need you to just go in. That way we can keep going with this. Yes! Got it. Woo! Pretty sure we got it. We're close. Gotta go in a little bit more. I think we're there now. Felt it run that time. Yeah. We're almost all the way in. All right, let's get the nuts on there real quick. Holy crap. It's in there. All right, the engine is back in, all bolted up, and a little more scratched up than it was before. Yeah. That's all right. We're going to get all that figured out. I think next time I'm going to put this in after. I'm going to take this piece off and put that in once the engine's in, because we're going to have to pull this back out. I've still got other issues with the engine that I got to fix. There's some leaks and stuff that's going on. We got to get the engine seal. So this is all just testing in and out, in and out. Right now we're trying to get the suspension, the steering, and the alignment all sorted. So that's the goal right now. And we're doing other stuff too. The engine is finally in. Let's get the carburetors back on. Let's try it. The engine is in. Everything's wired up. Check it out. Yeah, it's gonna start. It's got a little fuel in the carbs. We don't have the fuel hooked up yet. We're gonna hook up a temporary tank when we go to test drive it so that we can get the alignment settled in. We'll come back and we'll adjust, do another fine adjustment on it, and we should be good for a little while. Hopefully. We still got some work to do. We got to get the steering wheel hooked up. That's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to get this hooked up and get this tightened up, and then we'll do then we'll start working on the alignment. All right, guys, the engine's in. I got the front jacked up a little bit so that it was a little easier to get this steering bracket on. We've got this steering bracket all back onto the new steering box, and it's lined up. I tightened up the bottom, so we're in there pretty good. And that is supposed to be straight. It looks pretty straight. I'm sure there's some fine measurements you can take to get these even tighter, but it looks like we're doing pretty good. And the steering wheel is straight right now. I'm going to actually put 2 straps on it to hold it straight while we do the adjustments. The wheels are fairly straight, and what you can do is up off the ground right now, so you can with the gas tank out, you can easily adjust the tie rods here and there. With the gas tank in, which is what you're supposed to have, but we're not going to do that yet. You could somehow, you got to be able to get under there and adjust it with the gas tank, because the gas tank goes right here and it covers this. So you have to crawl underneath the tire from probably this angle here and reach up under there to adjust them. But the first one we do, we're going to do with the gas tank out. We're going to drive it around, come back. Then we'll get the gas tank in it, put the spare tire in it. We'll do that next week. And we'll do a fine adjustment from the bottom. But I'm going to try to get it as close as possible from up here because everything's new. So there's a lot more adjustments that need to be made. But yeah, with the gas tank in, it's going to be pretty difficult to get to these nuts. But it says you're supposed to have the gas tank in here to do the adjustment, which is difficult. I've got the wheels pretty straight. Let's see how they look. The suspension is settling in with the engine. I went ahead and bounced on all the corners to try to get it, and moved it back and forth a couple times and bounced some more to get the suspension to settle in. Looks like we're toe out just a little bit on this one. So let's bring that in just a hair. Okay. And we're gonna do some more fine adjustments once we set it down. This one looks pretty good. That one looks pretty good. Let's bring it in just a hair. Okay. And the trick is to keep the steering wheel straight. We're gonna put some straps on it and set it down. And we're gonna build the string around it again. Let me get these straps on here. Let me put the straps on the steering wheel and I'll show you what it looks like. Hold on. All right, I got the straps on. There's not a lot of pressure. There's enough to just kind of hold it in place. Just don't put a ton of pressure on it, but get it nice and snug so that it's not moving back and forth. And you want to get it centered as much as possible. I'm not sure how accurate the whole steering is, but we're gonna hopefully get closer. It looks like it's pretty straight, but we're gonna be messing with it here, so this is gonna change a little bit. So let's start messing with it. Let's put the square around it. All right, we got the string, we got the square back up around the car. I went ahead and took the center measurements, and we have 60 and 69. That's from the center of the axle to the string. So in the front we're 60. And in the rear we're 69. Okay, so now we need to get our toe in figured out and get that tightened up. So we're gonna get these measurements. Let me write them down. Stand by. I went around and took all the measurements, and this is what we're looking at. The rear looks good. We're at 80 on each side in the front and 85 in the rear of the tire in the rear. So the rear is good. Everything matches. The front is 92 on the passenger side and 95 on the driver's side. So on the passenger side we got 92 in the front, 85 in the rear. On the driver's side we've got 95 in the front and 80 in the rear, and that is on the front wheels. Okay, so we just need to get those numbers a little closer to each other, and we're going to do that by adjusting the tie rods. Basically, we've got toe in on both of these, which is good. We just need to get these numbers a little closer to each other, and then we should be good. We can tighten it down and take it for a test drive. Let's do it. Let me see if I can bring this one in a little bit closer to 92, and we'll see what happens to the 80. So we're going to bring this in just a little bit. All right, let's try that. So we are at 95. Let's see what happens. Hopefully we're closer to 92 now. Actually, I went the wrong way. I gotta go out. Let me go out. It's too far in. Let's see if we can get it closer to 92. There we go. Hey, that's pretty close. That is pretty close. Let's see what happened to the rear. 84. Depending on where you hold your head. Let's see. Oh yeah, we're way closer now. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So now we're at 92 and 84. So the difference between those is what I have to figure out. And the toe in, I think you're allowed to have like 1 millimeter of toe. Let me see if I can get that figured out. I'm going to try to get those numbers to match as close as possible. So we need to bridge that gap between the 92 and the 85. So I'm going to adjust both tie rods so that these numbers get closer to each other. Let's see what happens. $90. That's pretty close. We've got 88. And 89. I think we're pretty good there. I think what I'm going to do is tighten that down, and then we'll take it for a test drive. We'll bring it back and see what it's doing. All right, guys, we got the tie rods all tightened down. I think pretty good. Everything's tight and pretty straight. Let's take it for a ride and see what happens. All right, I wanted to show you the steering wheel as well. It's still pretty straight. So let's go ahead and loosen that up. Well, let's try it. I'm not expecting it to be perfect, but hopefully it'll be better than it was. Let's see what happens. Ooh. We need some fuel, guys. There we go. All right, let's try it. Well, guys, the steering's way better. It's going straight. Let's hit the brakes. But something's going on with the carburetor. It keeps revving up. It's not going back down for some reason, but we got really good steering now. Steers pretty good. Feels tight. I mean, it's not a sports car, but for a Beetle, I guess it's good. I don't know why it's revving up like that, though. For some reason it's revving up too high. It's not going back to idle. So I might have messed with the idle screw, maybe. When I was putting the carburetors in. You guys probably can't even hear me. Something's wrong with the idle. Big time. Well, drive it straight. Pretty straight. Let's see how it stops. Pretty good. Gear shifter's a little wonky. Gotta get that fixed. Yeah, I don't know why it's revving up like that. It's not going back to idle for some reason. It's getting really, really wild. Probably messed with the idle screw somehow when I was messing around with the carburetors. Having a hard time finding the gears. Yeah, real hard time. Got good breeze through here though. No windshield. Alright, let's take a look at it here. It's not going back. It's not going back to idle for some reason. I'm gonna have to pull the carbs and take a look at them.
Revving up pretty high. Driving straight. We've still got a couple adjustments to do. We'll have to adjust it a little more once drive it around a little bit. I think I got an issue here with the front being too high. You see how low the rear is? I think we're gonna have to do something there. We're definitely low in the rear and high in the front. So she's gonna get hot quick revving up like that. All right, guys. I'm gonna get her back to the house.
All right, guys, stay tuned. We're gonna get some more stuff done on. We're gonna dial in that suspension, get the levels and the adjustments just right. We're gonna keep working on this thing until we can get it back on the road and take it for a test drive on the highway with everything working. We're gonna get there. Stay tuned. I'll see you on the next one. Later.